So in light of all the need and the gaps and what have you, we've come up with a sort of a green meeting guide. And there are a lot of guides out there, actually. But this is sort of geared towards more UN operations. And it's a very compact, practical guide manual to greening meetings for UN agencies. What is it? Why is it? How is it? How do you do it? And it's not a very thick document. We just want to have something out there so that people can just pick it up and go through the steps to make their meetings a little bit more sustainable. And the scope is actually small to medium, because a lot of UN meetings at least UNEP and some of the more project-based programs and funds have, it's more to small to medium. If you go to some convention secretariat meetings, yes, it's going to be several thousands. Conference of the parties, that's quite different. But this meeting guide is more geared towards small to medium events. So that will be up to 5 to 200 people, and this would be a perfect pilot, I guess, for this meeting guide to apply this meeting guide. So this is sort of our front page, and it's it says Green Meeting Guide: Roll out the green carpet for your participants. So we tried to come up with a sort of snappy title. So let me just go through, green meeting. I'm sure most of you are quite aware. It's quite common sense. But then what is it? Well, it's designed, organized, and implemented in a way that it minimizes negative environmental impacts. And here it's not just the carbon dioxide emissions, but like waste and water consumption and so forth. And leaves a positive legacy for the host community is also what we want to try and promote. Why do you do it? Several reasons, lots of good reasons. Well, economically, it saves money. For example, Web for Development Conference, there was no agenda, no paper. It saves money because you don't necessarily use the paper or have to purchase the paper and what have you. And good image. These days, green is the new buzz color. So to preserve your good image. For United Nations Environment Programme in particular, and also UN system as well, we want to act against climate change and other environmental challenges, and to walk the talk, which I think is very, very important. While we are demonstrating what we can do in small events, we want to inspire other people to do the same. And then, to encourage different thinking, because we are always used to the conventional way of doing things, but it's always, interesting and challenging to encourage other people to think differently. And of course, very importantly, to communicate. I have with me an example of something that was done differently from some of the meetings I've been to. Web for Development, I'm sure you recognize this. People will say, why are you carrying this with you? Well, I wanted to show you today. This is actually not plastic, but it actually says it's compostable and biodegradable, which means that it will be totally sort of disintegrated in soil once you discard it. And obviously, as you know, plastics, they last a long time in the environment. Hence, that's why they're very sort of negative to the environment. And this was a very interesting coffee container that I picked up. It's actually made from fully renewable resources. So this is a way of also communicating to other people that you've produced this from a renewable resource, hence it's a sustainable product. And you use these sustainable products in your meetings as well. Now, I've never actually come across a nice plate like this. It's either paper or porcelain, just normal paper. But this is also something that's kind of communicates to your meeting participants that you're trying to do something differently. And although this is not as good, in my opinion, as the real sort of plates, I think it's better than paper and these aluminium, that kind of thing. So again, these are some positive things that I saw from the Web for Development meeting. So basically, a lot of the green meeting, for us anyway, is not just doing things differently and making a positive impact on the environment, but the communication aspect is also very, very a positive element of it. So how do you do it? Well, I'm now going to the contents of the meeting guide, and it's going to be very short and sweet. There is a step-by-step guidance. How do you, first of all, start? Actually, it asks you do you really need to have a meeting? It kind of asks you that question. Do you really need a meeting? Can it be done by video conferencing? Can you do it by other means rather than just holding a meeting? If the answer is no, then you go on to the next step saying, okay, pick the best option for you. Because this meeting guide has let me just put all the elements there. It's quite comprehensive in the sense that it gives you all the options of of holding a sustainable meeting or green meeting. And you can't do everything in a meeting. So you have to sort of pick your options that's best fit for you. And it might depend on where you are. I mean, New York is relatively cosmopolitan and it's quite accessible and everything, so it's quite easy to organize a green meeting, whereas some meetings in remote areas or in Africa or, there might be some options that will not be applicable in that situation. So you need to pick the best options that suit the meeting. And obviously, I just mentioned regional considerations. And the chapters actually contain selecting the venue, how to do it, so it kind of takes you through some of the elements that you need to consider while selecting the venue. Accommodation. Now, this is very convenient because I'm actually staying at the UN Millennium Plaza Hotel, which is very good because I don't need to commute every morning, which also contributes to the sort of benefits to this meeting organizing. So if the venue is close to a lot of hotels in the vicinity, your participants don't have to necessarily take any transportation to come here. So those things are also mentioned in this accommodation chapter. Now, catering, I showed you an example of Web for Development catering. There could be organic food, use of non-disposable cutlery and plates and so forth, use of fair trade products for your coffee, and then making that known to everybody so that you raise awareness in the process. One thing I didn't quite pick up is you had bottled water. If possible, it's better not to have that because, of course, it generates additional waste. And so that was one thing that I wanted to pick out that was a little bit negative. But I think overall, Web for Development gave us a good sort of overview of a good green meeting. Of course, local transportation, exhibitions, and then climate legacy. Now, this is where the climate neutral aspects kicks in, and this is where you encourage the participants to either offset their travel emissions, or I've seen also some meetings that ask you to do it mandatorily, that you have to offset, or they do the offsetting at the organization level after the meeting. So this is something that's quite a la mode at the moment. Everybody, the big organizations and UN agencies in particular have started their climate neutral legacy by trying to make their meetings carbon neutral or climate neutral. So these are some of the elements. I'm nearly coming to an end. I'm aware of my time pressure here. Key to success. Right. Okay. I mean, these are very common sense. Basically, key to success is good communication, in my opinion, and making those products, be known to people. And yeah, so this is the end, and it was actually developed by Europe and the International Council for Local Environmental Initiative, ICLEI, and we've sort of tried to consult the regional, all the regional differences, and of course the Environment Management Group, which coordinates the interagency aspects of the climate neutral UN. Okay, so that's it for me. From me, it was rather quick because I was aware of the time constraints. But if you have any questions?
So I think we can take 2 questions, but no 3 questions in one.
No questions.
No questions?
Yes.
Please, so over there. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I download the guide?
As I said, it's under development. The text is all there, but if you go to the website that I showed you, that's where the Sustainable United Nations products, if you will, are there. But I need to let you know that, as I said, the Environment Management Group is now developing a knowledge management website that will have all the UN agencies come in and upload their products. So eventually, it will all migrate to that site, but at the moment, it will be uploaded in our UNEP DTIE SUN site, Sustainable United Nations. If you could just sort of Google Sustainable United Nations, SUN, you'll be able to find it.
Wait, one more in front.
I just want to say something about the conference organizer. We have LED lights. We couldn't, because of budget constraints, we couldn't not get bottled water, but they are 35% less energy efficient.
Okay, brilliant.
We have no paper collateral.
Yeah.
We have screens, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
I
tried.
I think one of the things that was missing was the communication aspect. It would be really nice if you sort of made that more evident to the participants so that they don't think this is it just like any other meetings, because it was different from a UNEP perspective,
We did. It was
obviously.
it was in all our communication material.
Right.
Thank you very much. It was
Okay,
very
thank you.
interesting. We look forward to reading the guide as well.